I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic.
Great Mother speaks to us as the Holy Spirit that inspired our incarnation, the still small voice of intuition that guides it, and what we know in and through each new and full moon phase of our lives. And of course, the lunar cycle is marked by the dance between Great Mother, Father God. It's light and shadows, that perpetual dance that's going on. And right now we have the nodal axes, okay, and that's all lunar oriented as well. There's a point upon the elliptical where the moon and the sun meet, and that's called the nodes. And that changes every 18 months, and now we're in a phase midway through. We've just had our mid-eclipse readings about a month ago. The North Node is in Leo, and the South Node is in Aquarius, and the Western and the North Node is in Cancer and in Capricorn and the Sidereal. And so what happens with these types of readings is that we really get a look into the planetary, your signs, collective consciousness and unconsciousness, specifically with lunar readings, and individual if you get a personal reading into the precise nature of how these energies are supporting you to feel and experience that divinity regardless of what's going on in our lives. When you know and live by your divinity, you feel it in your bones, you feel it in your heart and mind and body. You feel you are dearly loved. You feel that you are a child of the Great Mother, Father God, the mother of all mothers, the father of all fathers. You know that. You live, breathe, and have your being through this inner awareness. And this inner awareness, I summarize in a way for us to connect this feeling with one another and through one another in these readings. And they are free principles. The first principle is that we are dearly loved children of the Great Mother, Father God. Just saying it, just asserting that. Because that is the whole deal, right? That is the divinity, is in knowing and owning that. The deck has gods and goddesses on each card, and it's all about us owning our divinity as gods and goddesses by recognizing and seeing that those energies also emanate through and as us as well. The second principle is that we are never, ever condemned or left alone. We live in a world of relentless retribution. Even our entertainment is about judging. Hey, I love Judge Judy. And I think I love it, speaking for myself, just those type of court shows, really. The other entertainment things, not so much. But just personally, I mean, we all have our favorites because this is the collective consciousness, right? So for me, I like watching her because it's some kind of resolve that gets beyond the judgment and looks at really what is the equity of the situation, which is what these readings help us to see. They help us to see our soul experience and really what it's trying to do as us and through us. So we're never judged or condemned. We are just made more aware. And the third principle is that we're never left alone. Our angels, guides, and ancestors are always with us. We are so dearly loved that even in our illusionary experience in this earth realm, we are constantly being reminded of that if we would just tap into and own our divinity. So this feeling, this very nature of the moon sign, the very intuitive breath of inspiration of all life is what we are saying here with Great Mother speaking through her still small voice to us and through us, this feminine nature within ourselves to be able to receive and acknowledge this love is where we, in our physical form, tend to experience this divinity as shadows, darkness, challenges, and obstacles in life that keep us from actually having that root, instinctual, intuitive, primeval sense of this eternal love. So through these disappointments in life, as a result of abandonment or experiences of abuse that create pain and produce trauma so early in life and so routinely, we forget our divinity, and that these constraints that we experience, shadows, darkness, challenges, obstacles, etc., are really there as a means to remind us that we're never alone, that we're never judged or condemned, that we are divine. And so how is that, you say? How is this a means to remind me? Well, we are more than our physical selves. And so a challenge that is insurmountable to the ego mind. And here, when we talk about ego, we're talking about our biography, the story that we tell. If you were to write the book of your life, on the inside flap, the way you would describe yourself after your name is what we mean by ego here, because we are working from the presumption that either the ego is already healthy, or that you are here because you are striving to align your ego with your soul to become healthy. So there's a level of consciousness that's presumed in these videos being watched as well. So these obstacles, these shadows are constantly reminding us that we're more than our physical bodies, because when we surrender to the obstacle and the challenge or the shadow, especially if it's a new moon shadow, that is the opportune time to present our wishes and our prayers to the cosmos based on the energy that's available. We've just had our Pisces new moon, and so that energy was all about our psychic and mystical selves and trusting that and learning to surrender to that and wishes associated with that. And so each lunar cycle in the new moon phase, we can surrender ourselves so that we can see ourselves beyond the challenges. These challenges are also loving opportunities presented by Great Mother's shadows, because she speaks to us through signs and symbols. These shadows of the lunar phases, they help us to balance the mundaneness and intensity of the physical linear world that we experience in the ego body. Okay, so to every up, there's a down. To every in, there's an out, etc. And so there's yin-yang throughout the cosmos as we know it. And so there is this balancing effect that we experience in the physical world. But what Great Mother is reminding us of through these experiences of pain and trauma oftentimes is that we need to balance the mundaneness and the intensity of this physical linear world with our spiritual insight, with our internal imaginative wisdom that is always capable of facing that challenge and staring it down. That third eye of Horus, that's what that's about. That big old eye is like looking at this obstacle problem that we think is the world, and the end of it like, I've seen you before, I hear you come again, which usually is what trauma is all about. It's a pattern that the soul has had that is always being called up to be healed. And so that third eye of Horus is an opportunity always eternally available to us to, again, surrender to in order to balance that mundaneness of those patterns, the mundaneness of this day in, day out life that seems like it will never end, that is overwhelming us, that we have no control over. And we focus on the intensity of this need to control as opposed to simply being in charge of our divinity. And so another way that I like to share with individuals that this great mother energy supports us is by building our inner strength through these challenges. Now, I know that we hear this all the time, but what is really being said here is that the kind of inner strength that great mother is building, of course, is that soul strength that refreshes it, that soul evolutionary energy that it can experience within our physical life. We don't have to physically release the body and die in order for the soul to evolve. We can evolve and be reborn, as many of us know, be resurrected into a new self within our lives as we align with our soul, sometimes reluctantly. But here there's an opportunity to build that inner strength and resiliency on a soul level consciously. And so we can do it consciously or unconsciously, but when we know that the shadows through the phases from the new moon to the crescent, to the first quarter, to the full moon, third quarter, and the balsamic are all about energies within the constellations and the many mansions, the star mansions, the houses in the sky, to place us emotionally and intuitively in a space that we can feel the support, well, then these readings make a whole lot more sense. And so that's why knowing our birth chart, that eloquent picture of our soul and the ego experience it chose as us, is useful. Okay, so we can, actually locate ourselves. So because each of our stories and soul scenarios are so different that, Great Mother even channeled to me the universal heroine's tale of Dorothy of the Wizard of Oz for the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck, just so we could have a connection point, a through line, that we could all kind of have as a touch point and a touchstone for these readings. And originally I had prayed to Great Mother asking for guidance about how to get immediate downloads from her for individuals healing from mama drama trauma, which is my area of life coaching specialization. I'm an inner work life coach who specializes in the term that I coined, mama drama trauma, the taboo Me Too subject. And so there is a lot of information about that if you're interested. But what I have found out is that these readings really help anyone, any walk of life who is sensitive. They tend to be empathic or intuitive individuals that, for the most part, feel blocked, constrained, or paralyzed by emotions that are really originating from unacknowledged shadows. We all have shadows, and that is, it's an unacknowledged shame. It's something that we'd rather not admit in ourselves, a quality, something. And so these are aspects in our chart. They're not secrets. They're right there staring at us in our birth chart. I mean, I know, like, for me, it was really shocking when I was learning to read charts. And, as you learn, you go back to your own stuff. And I was cycling back to my own chart. And I learned that I was coming off a certain way to people because that is what my soul needed and what it wanted to be able to focus on what it needed to do this lifetime. So while my ego was feeling alienated and alone, my soul was like, good, I need space. I need to be alone. I got a lot of stuff to do. I ain't got time to be bothered this lifetime. I kick it with y'all the next go round. But this go round, I am really enjoying this anonymity. So That's something that people, who always say, oh, you should be doing this and people should be knowing what you're doing, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, Great Mother gets to all of us the way that she needs to. I don't need to be on a buglehorn about anything. The way the energies work is that we're all attracted to what we need, aren't we? And so with my work and my experience, I have found that this deck really does work. So if you are a subscriber, you've probably heard me refer to this quite a lot, that these readings are really designed for intuitives, sensitives, and empaths. Anybody can listen. Everybody's invited. It's just that I started uploading them for my clients as a support, interim support between sessions, because I like to teach my clients how to read their own birth chart to become conscious and everything. So anyway, that's important because the readings are not about telling you how you are feeling, okay? I'm not telling you how you feel. The readings are about you being able to be aware of what the celestial and planetary energies are that are affecting your emotional body, okay? And that you have a way out. Especially if you are a highly sensitive person, it gives you a way out of those blocked, constraining, and emotionally paralyzing situations, so that you can again be in touch with your divinity in a way that you're not overwhelmed by the emotion. And so Great Mother really wanted to connect through my work with people who have problems with the emotional connection and trusting the intuition or being overwhelmed by emotions. They tend to have some type of mama drama trauma or daddy drama trauma because that allowed for that intuition to be hyper served and to be hyper developed for survival. And Great Mother really wants to come through to her children who have had that alienating and estranged experience from the birth home experience, so that they can feel her love and learn how to get in touch with her love. She's really wanting to connect with them through my work. So I want to share that with you about the deck and about what the readings are about, because if you can unlock how the shadows bind you, and you can keep those challenges and obstacles from doing that, then you can shine your light in the world, your unique light. It wasn't until I was able to get in touch with that within myself, that whole thing about how I connect with people and the ego feeling alone emotionally and stuff, but my soul on an intuitive level kept on telling me it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. We need to get down to work. You only have so much time here. When I came to peace with that, oh my God, do I feel my divinity or what? I mean, the downloads I get are just... So let me go ahead. Okay. So, excuse me. So remember, Glinda in The Wizard of Oz, the Good Witch, she symbolizes Great Mother in The Wizard of Oz, okay? And remember, she inspired Dorothy to go to Oz, okay, who symbolizes Great Father, that yellow brick road, gut chakra, that instinctual part of us. Eye of Horus, sixth chakra, is that intuitive part of us. And so we have that ego-soul connection there. We have the rainbow world of Oz, the chakras. And so that experiential existence, the gods and goddesses in the deck, the chakra in the deck, the chakras in the deck, the lunar cycles in the deck. She came through with all of that, and she had Dorothy go there so that she could see the light of her being once again. She came from the black and white world of the yin and the yang, the origin of the cosmos, the birth family, the soul group, the urge to evolve and to experience, have sensory experience through the chakras. And she incarnated as she descended from the twister dream, okay, in the house, that root chakra rooted itself in Munchkin land, okay, and quickly growing through that onto the gut chakra, okay, the root chakra through the second chakra. Her desire, which she asserted, was to go back home in Munchkin land. And in the yellow brick road, the gut chakra, excuse me, Oz, the greenery of Oz, the heart chakra. So what we have here is her growing through that ego experience, that earth experience, to see her light again, which is Great Father, that light that shines and reminds us, of that greatness, okay? And so likewise, as the galaxies and planetary bodies, including our physical body, comprises the physical outer form of Great Father, the inner world of Great Mother, that still small voice that emanates from the primordial black hole and holds existence in her womb, is where we come from and express ourselves just like the planets and the galaxies, Great Father energy. Okay, so we're born of them and comprised of this energy. It is within us. We are made of star stuff. And our birth chart is just a picture of that star stuff at our birth. But we have transit charts as well. And so you can have a chart of when your child was born or when you got married or when you started a business. It'll talk about the birth of different things in your life as well. And so we do transit charts every new and full moon. This is the second quarter one. And we're looking at ourselves as such, as children of the Great Mother, Father, God, as divine children of the Great Mother, Father, God. And so the most important thing in our birth chart, therefore, are our sun and moon signs, because they activate all other aspects. The sun, inescapable, fixed light, casts its light on the nature and personality of the soul, whose actions are inspired by the shadows of the moon, the soul essence. So Great Mother inspires the emotions and our intuition, inspire our actions, inspire those unique personality traits, what I like to call that cosmic calculus that makes us who we are and who we are learning more about through these readings and through our experiences with these readings, paying attention to what actually does, come about in your life, These loving trends that are constantly available to us are unlocked through these readings, that unconditional, compassionate, nurturing, kind nature that Great Mother has for us and Great Mother expresses, but it's hard again to see in the physical world, right? We talked about that. And so let's tap into the season of this quarter. It's a look at what the supportive energies are for you to plot and plan this quarter. And so the plotting and the planning is the plotting of your lot to plant, right? And that's the new moon energy. The realization of what you've planted, the fruition, the light coming to full illumination, is the full moon. And the full moon also at the back end of it is about releasing things from what you've planted that you decide, I really don't want that anymore, or I really thought I wanted it, but I don't want it now, or that really didn't come to full fruition, it really was kind of a stunted growth, so I'm going to pull it out, So that's the full moon reading. And so your birth chart is an elegant illustration of where your soul was at the time of its incarnation. So just like this seasonal reading is tapping in on this present time between April and June, your birth chart tapped into the exact snapshot of the unique positioning of the planets and constellations as they were at the time of your birth. This was most accurately calculated and clocked in the VEDIC, Jyotish, or Sidereal astrology, the cosmic astrology that looks at the soul. It is it signifies, this moon sign signifies the karmic nature of your soul. Okay. The Western or tropical that we use in the readings as well specifically locates the soul in its present focus on Earth. its earth experience, honing in on its emotional status and its unique body mind that the soul occupies at this time. Okay? And so this two-way communication nexus between the ego and the soul, as signified in the Western moon sign, where emotion is uploaded to the soul, sidereal, and intuition downloaded from the soul to the earth-centric Western sign, is really what we are talking about when we're going back and forth, or rather when I'm going back and forth in the readings. I'm talking about if you are, for example, Aries Taurus, then what you have is, for instance, if you have a Taurus moon sign, it's likely you have an Aries in the Vedic moon sign, okay? And this is already divinely aligned because the Taurus with the feminine Venus ruler and the Aries with the masculine Mars tells us the emotions of this fixed earth sign is providing the cardinal intuitive energy of the soul sign, an evolutionary opportunity to learn leadership in a physical environment enamored by sensory pleasure and stimulation. So, such deep pleasure through this awareness and knowledge of supportive celestial energies as they travel within, through, and around your lunar signs, houses, nodes, nakshatras, gives you a general reading for Taurus moon signs. In this example, to tell you what these energies are for your collective celestial unconscious based on the basic Aries sidereal moon sign. So I read the energies from the first house. So, for instance, this Aries Taurus example, the reading would make Taurus the first house, Gemini the second, Cancer the third, etc. However, if your unique individual chart, you have your moon sign in your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, or 12th house, book a personal reading for a precise assessment of your Western Vedic, solar, lunar, and ego soul energies supporting their alignment, and therefore your experience of divinity as a dearly loved child of the great Mother, Father, God, who is never judged or condemned or left alone. And with that, here is your 2018 second quarter moon sign, Great Mother Speaks reading.
Welcome, Gemini, Cancer Moon people. Let's see what Great Mother is speaking into your Spring Equinox 2018 season from April to June. It is kicked off by the full moon in March. Actually, March has 2 full moons this year. But on the 31st, this is bringing to full illumination the energy that's being highlighted, that's being illuminated and carried through the entire arc of this lunar season. So for you, Gemini, Cancer Moon people, this is the Libra full moon. It's the cardinal air. And so each of these quarterly readings are on a cardinal sign. And so this cardinal air for you in Libra and the tropical and the earth-centric, egocentric astrology, the emotional astrology is in your 4th house. And so there's something that is coming to full illumination in your home environment. You as a mother, the mothering energy that you have, regardless of what gender you are, and how you are feeling nurtured, how you are feeling cared for. It has to do with, on a soul level, energy coming from the Virgo and that Gemini energy. And so the Gemini sidereal sign for you is the very masculine. And so you tend to download pretty well and pretty easily with that Gemini energy. Of course, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, communication. And so we have Libra that's also ruled by Mercury, in this full moon season that's carrying its energy through, that is establishing the energy for this season. The card you have for that is Inner Wisdom, Cancer Moon people. That's no surprise, is it? Cancer being ruled by the moon, Great Mother energy. And so this is full moon with new moon energy, that download energy, that intuitive energy that we receive during the new moon. For you is the Sophia Inner Wisdom card. This is the scene in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy meets Scarecrow and asks him which way to go on her journey as she initiates the Yellow Brick Road. And so you are initiating this journey, this spring equinox season. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's fall, you're harvesting. But if you're in the north, you are awakening from a long winter's dream. You are initiating this planting phase with this full moon energy in the Virgo Libra. The downloads that you're receiving about your nurturance and how you are nurturing and what this inner wisdom is that you have has something to do with 10th house energies, because the sun is actually illuminating this 4th house energy from your 10th house in Pisces, Aries. And so there's higher wisdom that you are in fact receiving from the sidereal, and this is being communicated to you. You have already intuited this. Of course, March is closing out the prior season, and so you've already downloaded what needs to be communicated to your family, or what your family is communicated to you, that is that unsaid communication, that lost in communication type of transaction that we often have with family, but within ourselves we know. And that Aries in the tropical, you're wanting to act on it. You're wanting to, with this inner wisdom, like Dorothy, you're wanting to initiate a new path. You're ready for the spring and you're ready to go. It's just that there have been some issues at home that are coming to full light right now with this Virgo Libra energy that need to be reorganized. This energy needs to be rebalanced, maybe. Maybe work-life balance issues are coming to the fore. And so you're being supported to use this insight moving forward with the nakshatra of Uttara Falguni. Uttara Falguni is a very deep nakshatra. It has very deep spiritually scientific insight and knowledge. People born with this moon energy tend to be good astrologers. They tend to be very good Reiki masters, counselors, things of the occupations of that nature. And so this is the energy from the sidereal Virgo moon that is supporting you right now. And so you are getting downloads. Trust the downloads that you're receiving. The March full moon, if the March full moon has passed, you have received those downloads, and just recall what they were and trust them moving forward. Because as you do move forward with the April new moon on the 15th, you're going to find that your condition is one that has to do with your 10th house. So we carry over that 10th house from the sun illumination of 10th house energies into that moon. And so that moon now is Pisces, Aries. That's where the sun was during the full moon. And that always happens wherever the full moon sun is. That's why we look at the sun, Great Father energy. It carries over into the new moon. This new moon on the 15th in April has to do with you actually feeling like you have this higher insight that has come through, that you're ready to act on this new moon in April, and you are feeling like there may be some blockage to that as it relates to perhaps people at home, or as it relates to your work. Okay, we're still looking at that work-life balance scenario, and you are ready to listen to what others have to say, perhaps too much. Remember Bravati, the spiritual scientific energy. Remember the download that you received and trust it, because this Pisces Aries new moon is going to test it. This planting season, this new moon season, it's a free will season of what you want to plant moving forward, the lunar season in April. And so be careful that what you're planting is in alignment with what came through for you that needs to be followed through with, because the support that you have is it is Ravati. Before you had Uttara Falguni, the spiritual scientific. Now you have Ravati, and Ravati is a new moon energy that has to do with the self-creation, and it's really supporting that Pisces energy. That's a caregiving energy. It can be overly so, and so that's why you want to be careful in terms of what you're planting this new moon season. You don't want to be out of balance with that. And so maybe there were some things that came through in your inner wisdom during the full moon in March that was telling you your work-life balance had to do with maybe you are over giving at home and there's not enough attention at work. And it's not so much work, but 10th house has to do with your wishes, your dreams, your aspirations, those careers and projects that really speak to your soul, really speak to why, in fact, you incarnated. And so the home environment with this juxtaposition has to do with being aware of how it is supporting you in your journey moving forward. So maybe the insights that came through had to do with looking at how you are being nurtured and how you are being supported by co-workers, maybe even business partners. Maybe their needs are being met in terms of work-life balance, but that's pulling you out of balance, or vice versa. There needs to be some consideration with regard to that juxtaposition and that dynamic as you look at the April new moon. This is the Ixchel Mayan goddess card of fertility and of lunar cycles, the rainbow, in fact. And so that Ravati energy, getting back to that, that's supporting you with all of this, is an energy of caregiving. And so that's what the balance is that we want to look at. It's also an energy that tells us that you know how to nurture yourself. You know how to do that. You know how to nurture yourself. You know how to nurture others. You have a wisdom about doing that. And so that's not anything to be concerned about. Aren't you glad that you're watching this so that you can actually trust what you know that you know you know. You don't need to overthink it, Cancer Moon people. What you're feeling at this time in April, in the new moon season, about your relationships at home, about what you need to be nurtured as it relates to why you came here, what is meaningful to you in your heart, your wants, your needs, and your desires. Honor that. That's what Great Mother is saying. And what the 2 cents of other people may be, you don't want to care give in that regard. You don't want to sell yourself out in any way with regard to that, is what I'm getting. And this new moon has to do with perhaps not being aware that there may be some struggle with that. And so Great Mother is saying that if you do feel that there is a pull, by others to, or from others to detract you from what your inner wisdom is, don't allow it, Don't allow that. That Ravati energy is going to really give you that supportive confidence in your knowledge and in your insights, and so trust it. This Rage card is a waxing gibbous root chakra card, and so waxing gibbous is about revising, reevaluating, reassessing. And so as you plant your seed for this equinox season, you want to realize that those energies coming up, those frustrations that are coming up for you, are in fact opportunities for you to look at what's working for you and what's not. What's honoring what you know, and what's not. Okay, because any direction that you go is going to get you there, provided that you follow that Pisces Aries illumination that comes through that new moon. And so we talk about illumination and new moons in terms of that inner illumination. Okay, it's the dark moon outside, but that is where we get the greatest period of downloads. In fact, it's the balsamic right before the new moon. Okay, that dark moon period is a powerful download period. And so you have a lot of Pisces, Aries energy here in your 10th house, transitioning from the full moon. Sun, great father light illumination on the full moon in March into that moon position in your 10th house in April on the 15th. And so trust that higher wisdom coming down from the Pisces into your Gemini, so that you can emotionally respond in a way and act in a way with that Aries energy that really does honor who you are. Now, if you do feel uprooted by the frustration, rage is suppressed anger, and we all get very upset because we do live in a culture and society in which we don't have many ways to appropriately express our rage, and so it tends to come out, in burst. We suppress it so much, right? So if you're feeling that way mid-April, realize that you have been suppressing these work-life balance issues, and it's an opportunity for you to really evaluate why you're upset. I'm upset because, once again, I'm having to stop what I'm doing to pick up my child who is 45 minutes from where I work, but, my spouse is only 5 minutes away, but what they do is so much more important than what I do. I have to, whatever the situation might be, it's coming up for you to get in alignment with the inner wisdom that you've earned over the prior lunar season. So in this season, April to May, we have a full moon on the 29th of April that's bringing all of this into a very beautiful culmination for you in Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is the card of self-compassion. And so this is in the position of what, actually the season is really going to kind of embody for you as you trust that inner wisdom. This is going to allow you to do that, Gemini, Cancer Moon people. It's by having that self-compassion and by realizing that what you see in others perhaps as shortfalls are really mirrors to yourself. Again, not in condemnation, not in any type of retribution, but in an investigative sense of awareness of really what is going on. The full moon, you're going to really feel this, and this full moon is in Libra, Scorpio. So it's 5th house energy. You're going to feel like expressing what your work-life balance needs are in a very truthful, upfront way with your family, with your friends, and even with regard to, the public at large. You are really wanting to come out with this new awareness that you have, because you are being self-compassionate, you are considering yourself, and you are considering your needs. That 11th house sun illuminating all this in Aries Taurus is what's cluing us in on that. On a soul level, there is a need to act on that Taurus truth within oneself about what brings you pleasure, about what brings you joy. This is being supported by the nakshatra of Chitra, which is the universal architect. Universal architecture energy is that energy that just intuitively, naturally knows what it takes to beautify the world, not just its own surroundings, but everyone's surroundings. And so that 11th house sun illuminating that self-compassion in a way that you will express what you know to be the most beautiful balance that you need in your life, that will, and do it in ways that people will see how it will benefit them. Well, you see, if you do pick up the kid from school, just 5 minutes away from you, by the time I come home, I'll be able to, bring home dinner, or I'll be more rested because I'll be able to do, whatever. You haven't thought about those things. You haven't thought about what the alternative scenario could be that could benefit everyone. But by this April full moon, you will have, and you will be expressing those things with the support of this Chitra energy. Aren't you glad that you're watching, so that you can actually see and be aware of what these supportive energies are? Chitra also has to do with being able to take risk that allow you to improve your life and to enhance the life of others. And so that's a risk maybe for some people to negotiate something like that, because it has to do with boundaries. And it really does have to do with family and children. Chitra can have challenges with that. And it has challenges because it does have a great insight about how to beautify the world. And when we have the resources to do such work, we aren't always able to allocate our time and personal resources in a way that satisfies those who are closest to us. We are invested, in other words, in that endeavor, in beautification. And so the work-life balance issue is really what's coming through for you. And it's not just because you're Cancer Moon people. This is expressing a professional aspect, a hope, dream, an aspirational aspect that you have. And it's also about maybe that repression again of anger. Maybe there's some manipulative or vindictive tendencies that you have been meditating about, that Great Mother's coming through and she's saying, you really don't even have to go there. There's levity available for you through Chitra, Ravati, and Uttara Falguni to reshape the situation and express it to those around you in beautiful and compassionate ways. But of course, we have to first be compassionate to ourselves first before we can be compassionate to others. And so she's letting you know that there's a reason that you might feel some frustration with some of these things, but that you have the support to work through them by the end of April. And so that's wrapped up in a nice package, and we can see that having met the challenge of trusting your wisdom as it relates to work-life balance and working through that in a way that allows you to recognize and transcend rage through self-compassion, that the full moon in April being wrapped up is as a result of you awakening to the truth of who you are. Awakening to that truth through this Libra Scorpio energy is about that going beneath the surface, seeing what's really there. And with Pele, the Hawaiian, the Mayan goddess of volcanoes, the eruption of this rage potentially is what gives you that insight. So is there going to be a big blow up? The choice is yours. That's why you're glad that you're watching. Is because you can, because the energy is there for this to be expelled, and the energy is also there for you to work it through an internal process that allows you to accept what it is that you know that you are recreating within yourself and for yourself. That work-life balance that makes sense and feels good for you, so that you can care for others in a way that works for you. And the truth about who we are is always revealed when we go beyond the surface. And with Pele, this scene of The Wizard of Oz is when Dorothy crosses the threshold into Munchkin Land and is greeted by Glinda the Good Witch, who symbolizes Great Mother. This energy is all about what Glinda asked Dorothy, which is, are you a good witch or a bad witch? The Munchkins want to know. So that's what Great Mother is coming through, and she's saying, are you a good witch or a bad witch? There's never any judgment or condemnation, but there is yin and yang. So the yin and yang of the situation is, are we going to outwardly express the rage, or are we going to go into an inward space and look at really from whence it comes, and as a result of that investigation, awaken to what the truth really is. This is gut chakra crescent moon. Crescent moon is planting. So new moon, that is what we're doing. We're planting, we're sowing seeds. And so she's saying, be aware, are you planting a yin seed or a yang seed? And it really doesn't matter, does it? Because if we plant during the new moon, that means that we're planting something that is going to grow above ground. Okay, if we're planting during the full moon, we're planting something that's going to grow below ground. tubers and nuts and things like that. So it's just, what do you want? Do you want potatoes or do you want tomatoes? What do you want? So what do you want, Gemini, Cancer Moon people? Do you want to create a situation where you bring up and erupt the emotions with very yang energy, okay? And so that's that Gemini soul energy. That's very masculine energy, and what you've been feeling from your soul, this, full moon energy coming up. And from the soul, this Libra Scorpio in the 5th house, we're expressing from our soul to pull that out of other people, okay, to yang that out of other people. Or are we working with the yin energy, okay, the tropical Cancer, to intuit what the soul is saying, receive that yin energy, what the soul is saying, and work with that internally within ourselves? Okay, and so we have this heart chakra energy that has showed up for you with Kuan Yin and with Sophia, which is the crossroads between the ego and the soul. And we talk about ego-soul communication. And so inner wisdom through self-compassion is that inward journey, okay, in terms of awakening and planting that seed based on that gut chakra, what you are actually feeling, full moon, what has come up, what you're actually feeling. Or are you creating from what others have told you? You know what you need, but you're considering it to such a point that it's causing you upset. And you want to pull the awareness, your insights from others as a result of the upset. Which is what happens when Miss Gold came to take Toto. Dorothy erupted, and that's what the impetus was for her to run away. And so she was able to pull from that experience what she needed to grow. But she also balanced throughout the journey. So there's no all and end all. It's just that during this particular season, she wants you to be aware of what choice that you're making, because as a result of whatever choice that you're making, there is a dance that's going on right now with needing to accept the law of destiny and free will. Akhenaten is the card of Yang, and so this would indicate that maybe there will be an eruption that will allow you to release that energy in this 3rd quarter moon card, which is about release, letting go, forgiveness. So you're dancing with that energy. There's no judgment or condemnation about that dance. We all have that dance from time to time, and this is your turn to have that dance. And so Great Mother is acknowledging that you're having that dance. Recognize that this is a root chakra card. Root chakra is in the middle. And so you are, through this dance, regrounding yourself in ways that will allow you to trust your inner wisdom on a whole new level. That is a very momentous journey for you at this time, because as you are integrating all of this and bringing April to a close with this full moon illumination of expression in your 5th house with this Libra Scorpio energy, it's bringing an internal balance that you're having to walk out in truth. Okay, that Scorpio, you're having to walk that out in truth. And the full moon light in Aries Taurus in your 11th house may be creating some situations that you are like, what is this about? I thought that if I did X, Y, and Z, the outcome would be A, B, C, or vice versa. And it's not that. Okay, and so regardless of what's going on, Great Mother is saying, are you going outward with the situation or inward? Regardless of which way you go, you're dancing with this energy of Akhenaten, the first ruler to institute the worship of the one God, which is courage, stepping out, doing what your soul came here to do, that yang energy. Incarnation, root chakra in the ground. You're doing it regardless. You're doing it as long as you're conscious. Just know that either you're doing it from within or you're doing it from without. This is confirmed by the fact that this closes out April. You being consciously aware of how you're working with your inner wisdom as an outward process or as May opens an inward process. May opens up with the new moon in Aries Taurus. And for you, with the Dagda card, the Dagda card is the yin symbol card in the third quarter moon. So this is telling us that this 11th house energy from the new moon, from the full moon of April coming into the new moon, is the 11th house of Aries Taurus now in your moon. And it's saying that whatever was going on in terms of your public image, in terms of your associations, your friends, your social networks, etc., as a result of this journey, you are being encouraged to trust what has happened as a result of it as knowledge for your journey. So we see here that the Dagda, being the father of the Celtic pantheon, is listening to the Earth Mother. Okay, the variant energy of Great Mother that is the Earth Gaia. And he's listening to it. You're listening to the Earth as it is expressed through your networks, your social networks, your friends and your groups. You're listening, but you're listening on a deep, inner, intuitive level of Aries. Your soul is actively, in other words, downloading information. It's consciously downloading information about its experience so that it can act in a way that is in alignment with what means the most to it. This coincides with Uranus leaving Aries and going into Taurus. And so this is why this is so powerful for you, Cancer, being aware of this yin-yang expression. Uranus has been in Aries for 7 years, and haven't we noticed it on a planetary level? It has been, oh, what a ride. Uranus in the Western astrology rules Aquarius, that soul genius, that innovative spark, that sudden burst of genius, of insight. And in Aries, that means me, my genius, my insight, aren't I great? Don't I know what the world needs, And that is what we've been experiencing. And so now, after 7 years, as it has moved into Taurus by this time, conjunct this Aries Taurus moon. In Taurus, Uranus expresses as focusing on your finances, focusing on what means the most to you in life in general, what you value the most, what you treasure. So it may be relationships, it may be social groups. And so these friends that you nurture and that you feel nurtured by are even more important than before at this time. You will feel that way, and it is a hidden influence for you. It's a influence that you really are urged by Great Mother to pay attention to and to release and let go of any aspects of those relationships that no longer serve you, because you're being supported at this time by the nakshatra of Bharani. And Bharani has the power, and it's therefore transmitting this supportive power to you to be able to bear the negativity of others. However, for this reading, I would say that you want to operate in using that energy in a way that you are listening for where that needs to be released in your life, the negativity of others. You don't want to imbibe, you don't want to receive that. Okay, this is the double yin card, in fact. So the double yin card is not just the yin card, it is the receiving, but doubly receiving that intuitive knowledge, what we're talking about. And so trust what your intuition is telling you about who and what is serving you at this time of this May new moon and what is not, because you are beginning to align yourself with the very powerful planetary energy of Uranus in your emotional life to fulfill what your wants and your needs are. Okay, that Uranus transit is shifting for you. The nakshatra of Bharani is also detached, and so it's not going to have a huge challenge doing that. It is a constrained energy, but it can also be pretty seductive. And so, a lot of different people can be attracted to you, and attracted to what you have. But the question is, do they serve you or do they not? And that's the law of Divine Mother, just being very clear about that. And desires are emphasized, as this is a second chakra law card. Okay, what your desires are, being very clear that you're listening to that intuitive guidance from that Aries on what the soul wants to act on in terms of embodying through that Taurus moon your emotional life, what really serves it, and the wisdom that it has to live its life in alignment with that. This May new moon is really the apex of your season. It's the kind of climax of this arc season. And here we find Coventina as the center of your reading. Purification. And so you're going through this purification period. You are expecting that you will go through this purification period because by now you know what's up. You know that you are acting and reacting and reevaluating things in your life, and you know that you are fostering and nurturing a new seed in your life of awareness, a new seed of wisdom. And it's a learning period, what they call a learning tree. And by purifying yourself, you in actuality realize that by mid-May, you have entered this equinox season one way, but you will leave it another. This is the waxing gibbous heart chakra card. This is the revision period, reevaluation, editing period of that ego-soul communication. This new moon is dealing with this Bharani energy in a way that is actually bringing you pleasure, is actually purifying what you have probably not, fully allowed yourself to activate in your life. Things that you want now are becoming very clear to you as how you want them, or that you don't want them at all. This is right before the full moon, the waxing gibbous moon card. And so you are just getting cleansed, getting really clear, knowing what is true for you. And it's not an excruciating process at all, because you listened to Great Mother and you have therefore listened to what is serving you in your life and what is not serving you. And so by the time it starts to come through on the latter stages of that new moon phase, you're going to recognize it, and you're going to be ready to plant that seed for this new lunar season. You might even have new moon wishes during that period of time of that Aries Taurus new moon, that I want to easily and effortlessly recognize what serves me and what does not. I want to easily release from my life things that no longer bring me pleasure. Those types of things. It's a spring cleaning energy, in fact. And so it's that kind of energy. Again, not having to be of drudgery, but in fact one that by the time the full moon comes, you will be able to assert your own beauty. You will be able to own your beauty after that cleansing, after that refreshment. Isn't that the way it is after you go to a spa, or after you have done some type of cleanse, and you just I'm a new person type of thing. That's how the May full moon on the 29th will feel like to you. And so Great Mother is saying that through that release process, you will come forward with this Nefertiti energy. And that Nefertiti energy is the energy of when Dorothy brought the broom back to Oz. She brought it back and said, here it is. I'm ready to go home, and everybody wants their wishes. And so what wishes have you had Gemini, Cancer Moon people, since the March full moon, when you were asserting your inner wisdom. This period during the May full moon, you're going to actually own that inner wisdom. You're going to be very clear about it. And this is the waning gibbous moon, so you're actually sharing the gifts of your inner wisdom with other people. You're actually feeling like it's time for you to pay it forward, type of thing. There's some things that you've learned through your journey and through your lesson that you might actually be teaching and sharing, because this full moon is in Scorpio Sagittarius. And so on a soul level, there is a feeling of rebirth. There is a feeling of regeneration, and the emotional response in terms of how you are actually feeling is the sage in the 6th house. You have learned about balance in your daily life. You have learned some new things, maybe about your health and about how you want to deal with the details of your work-life balance in ways that you haven't ever done before. This is really juxtaposed with the full moon being illuminated by a sun in Taurus Gemini, your 12th house energy. And so 12th house is where we integrate everything we've learned through the 12 zodiac houses. It's the end of the journey. And this for you is this apex, this climax of this equinox season, this May full moon, in which you're going to be able to integrate all those lessons in a way that allows you to communicate them in very simplistic, practical ways. Okay, and so what may have been a challenge before to communicate and to share with others is no longer. It is no longer causing you upset. You've lived through that because you developed the self-compassion necessary to really be able to awaken to how you are expressing and experiencing your life as in the yin and the yang capacity. And when you're choosing to do so, we can choose to do either at any time. It's just the encouragement that Great Mother has given you to stay focused on the awareness of that, and paying attention to the awareness of that has purified you in such a way that by the end of May, you will be owning the beauty that you've earned. This full moon in May is supported by the nakshatra of Anudra, and Anudra is going to support you in being able to release anything that keeps you from owning your beauty, that keeps you from recognizing the journey that you've been through to own your power. That's what the broom represents. It represents that phallic symbol. And for you, that Gemini soul energy that is wanting to act on that inner wisdom that you have and that you have cultivated. Anudra, the nakshatra that is all about being knowledgeable. It's all about stability through chaos. So even though there's been chaos that's occurring, there's also a stability. There tends to be an emotional attachment, which is why Great Mother has had you be aware of your relationships and your insights. But with Anudra, you're going to actually act on the changes that you have intuited that you needed to make in your friendships, in your relationships, in the releasing of those things that no longer serve you, that you have been doing since the beginning of the month. Anudra is also very good about communicating. And so this Scorpio Sagittarius energy in your 6th house is really encouraging you, as a result of owning your beauty, kind of shifting how you communicate in your daily life. You are perhaps taking a beat, as I say, in my coaching work. You might be isolating yourself a little bit from groups for a time or at certain times so that you can do this downloading work. It's become so important and so instrumental to you and for you. You are, with this energy of Anudra, able to actually communicate your true desires, your true pleasures. And this is yielding great benefits to you in the sense that you are seeing yourself and expressing yourself, 5th chakra is expression, your desires. and others are seeing the power that you have in doing that. This is benefiting you tremendously, but you are being very careful about how you are allocating your energy with that sun in Taurus Gemini. You are communicating what those things truly are to you, and it might not be coming out like a faucet, but it is coming out in meaningful ways. That 12th house energy is telling us that there may be some isolation, there may be some taking some days off, or just kind of taking some time to yourself that you're doing, that is really, really giving you the benefit of the Scorpio Sagittarius full moon on the 29th. You are, from this, going to be able to actually see beyond illusions. You're going to see the truth of the situation, the truth of how you're going to be able to operate with this wisdom. And we know that because Maya is the new moon third eye card. And this says that even though everything is not clear, it's new moon card, the inner eye is telling you everything you know, as we see in this scene in The Wizard of Oz when Toto pulls the curtain back on Oz, proving that he is only a man. There are things in your life, Gemini, Cancer, Moon people, that you're realizing are only what they are. This is only a boss. This is only a client. This is only, my 5-year-old son. I love him to death, but, I've been treating him like, of a prince, and he is in my heart, but, type of thing. And so, not to demean or belittle anything or anyone, just as Oz wasn't belittled. It was just a truth. And this truth that's coming out in this full moon in May, Gemini moon people, is really, really giving you this time to take a beat. And isn't that what the 3 did? They took a beat and they said, oh, wait a second, here I am. I brought the broom back. And next thing I know, he's not Oz. He's just a man. So your full moon experience might be bringing some of that to you in terms of what you have downloaded, what your inner wisdom truly is. You may have started this season off like this purification part was telling us one way, maybe expecting the inner wisdom to take you one place, but you exit another as we get to the full moon in May. That's telling us that it's not the outcome that you were expecting. And so as we look at this, we can see that there is a unconscious pattern of suppressed anger, perhaps, that is coming back around, and it's an opportunity again to be self-compassionate and to really get in touch with what you know. It takes time. Oftentimes, if you're a subscriber, you've heard me say, go back and see what Great Mother said during the new moon reading for you. I encourage you to look at the prior full moon reading and see what Great Mother was saying to you, because during those individual new and full moon readings, I can see from the phases of the cards what she's saying. And although this is a new moon card, because this is a quarterly reading, this really is just speaking to the energy of the new moon and not the new moon per se. So this is telling me that the energy is one by the full moon, that you are owning your beauty. You have gotten great revelations. You have ego soul aligned on so many levels with self-compassion, which is what the heart chakra is, ego soul alignment with the inner wisdom. The challenge for you during this May full moon that is in Scorpio Sagittarius, your 6th house, it's your daily life. It's bringing this higher wisdom into practical expression. And so you're having to take a beat. The sun is illuminating this through this Taurus Gemini sun in the 12th house. You're having to take a beat so that you can clearly see the truth of this. And so what is the truth of your beauty? Well, when Dorothy came back and realized the truth of her getting the broom back, she realized that it wasn't because someone else was going to be able to get her home, it was because now she realizes that she has the power to do and to get anywhere she needs to get to and what she needs to do. It's the same type of thing for you during this spring season on an unconscious level. Great Mother is speaking to you about this specifically as it relates to accepting whatever feelings you have. There have been some feelings that you have that you haven't fully accepted. And these feelings have to do with what you are wanting, what you're really, really wanting. So let's say, for example, your inner wisdom might be that you really do need someone to fulfill a particular role for you as a support for you in your life as you trust this inner wisdom, which may be about, your family and your work life and new ways that you're wanting to allocate your energies. And maybe your girlfriend, in this friend group could be supportive or whatnot. But the truth of the situation, once you look at it, is that there's no way she could have the time. She has her own constraints and things like that. How could you work with that? How could you come up with a solution for that? And how could you do it in a way that's going to honor really who you are and how you feel? So let's say, it's not workable. Well, you are upset about that. Okay? But instead of repressing your feelings about that, Great Mother is saying, accept that you do have a right to be happy, healthy, and whole, which is really what this card is about. But you also have the capacity to do whatever it is you need to do. Focus on what it is that you need instead of the person. Okay, instead of the relationship, instead of the project at work, instead of whatever. What is it that you're really needing? And so you're saying, well, I need somebody to take care of my son. I need that. Okay. And so to get what you need through the alignment that you've had with your inner wisdom, Great Mother is saying that there's a need to realize that you are not being heard. And really that is the source of your frustration. You do feel like, yes, I just need somebody to take care of my son so that I can fulfill all these things that my inner wisdom is telling me to do during these XYZ hours of the day. And I'm not feeling heard. This is sufficient. Great Mother is saying this is enough, but you do need to get to this point, Gemini, Cancer, Moon people, of purification, of ego-soul communication, where you really are accepting how you feel about something. What is that gut chakra saying? It's saying that I'm not being heard. Okay, this is the Birth Mother card in the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck. It's the soulmate card. And so soulmates do, in fact, help us purify and refine our soul in our earthly journey. As the three assisted Dorothy on the yellow brick road, they were the farm hands on the farm, in fact, and Professor Marvel along the road. And so we have these reincarnated experiences with people. And so the girlfriend may have been a sister or a mother in another life. The son may be an uncle or a nephew in another life, or a mate. And so there are these dynamics that on an unconscious level we're always working out. So you're not feeling heard. It's a pattern that's coming up for you. And so the Crescent Moon Root Chakra card is saying that what needs to be planted is a sense of regrounding yourself for yourself, not as it relates to other people. So go even deeper. Go even deeper. Don't just receive that, but double in it. Go even deeper. And so as a result of me not feeling like I'm being heard, I'm very angry. And I'm very angry because what I need is not being given to me. Go deeper. What is it that you need? Is it that you need to be heard, or that you need to hear yourself? Because we have 12th house energy illuminating this full moon. 12th house energy is the end of the zodiac wheel. That's why it's always associated with isolation, alienation, incarceration, or hospitalization, because those experiences give us the opportunity. They force us when we need to be forced, when we don't do this voluntarily, when we don't voluntarily go deep. Hospitalization and incarceration forces us to go into that space. Okay? And so, what is it that you're really needing? You're needing to hear yourself. What is it that you're needing to hear yourself about the time allocation and reallocation that you need? Hear yourself about what's really important to you. What's really important to you? Okay, so there's some imbalance again with the wish fulfillment and the home situation. Maybe what you are really crying out for is that you have time with your son. And so we're kind of getting back to that scenario of having someone, perhaps pick him up or the kids up so that you have more energy to be present with them. That's what we mean by going deeper. And that's what the moon sign readings do, because our inner life manifests, it creates, it generates our outer life. And so this is the inner stuff that's kind of going on with you, and Great Mother is encouraging you to embody the reality that you need to hear yourself, recognize yourself and what your needs are, and not project that onto others. You can nurture yourself like no other moon sign. You just need the time and space to do it. And so there's a redirection from projecting that responsibility onto others that I'm seeing here for you, Gemini, Cancer, Moon people. And again, this is not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a thing. It's an energetic thing. And this full moon in May, working with this Anudra Nakshatra is, about emotional attachment. It's about, being able to communicate your problems, your challenges to people. And so this Anudra Nakshatra is supporting you to be able to work through this adjustment. This is an attitudinal adjustment. This is an inner thing that's going on, from projecting your needs outward to fulfilling them inward. And this will require some communication, some daily changes. So there's some need to change your routines, your daily life at the end of May, and to look within yourself as to the inspiration that you've had since the March full moon about how to do that and what the inspiration is for you doing that and following through by this April full moon, by this May full moon, the April full moon as well, which was actually telling you that this dance of the law of mystery and divine order was in full effect. And so a very mysterious journey for you until the full moon of May, when that transit comes through in your 6th house. Now, June, you're ending this season with a new moon on the 13th of June in your 12th house. So again, this 12th house sun energy in Taurus and Gemini is now in your moon in your 12th house in Taurus and Gemini. So this is all about you actually feeling perhaps a little alienated. Maybe you're feeling alone. And this is coming from this Taurus Gemini energy of really centering yourself. So you're centering yourself into a new way of being, into a new way of existing at this time, and you are able to take this on because of listening to Great Mother's message, because of the preparation that you've made for yourself and the challenges that you've overcome working with these energies. The nakshatra energy that's supporting you here is of Rohini. This is an energy that allows you to actually feel pleasure no matter what you're going through. People that are born under Rohini, they tend to have a magnetism about them, really a passionate creativity about them. And for you, since this is in your 12th house, where you're going to be kind of opening up this month of June, this prelude to the summer, this centering in this waxing gibbous moon, third eye, is a gratitude for your journey. And it's a gratitude that people can sense. But again, because you're taking a beat, and now internally you're feeling like you're actually taking a beat, it may your new insights may feel like they're alienating or isolating you, because you have gotten so deep to the source of everything. And that's not anything to be afraid of, but it is a moment to be acknowledged. Just like all the houses of the wheel, we have to go through these energetic spaces to grow. And just because this is 12th house energy, this isn't something to avoid. This is something that you can take on, and Great Mother's encouraging you to take this on, because it's going to allow for a rebirth and a regeneration for you. 12th house, next house is the first house. So go ahead and tap your heels 3 times, as we see here with Dorothy. This is body, mind, and soul. You are taking the time and the space to align yourself with your new truth. And as you do that, you're going to be processing your journey. You're going to be seeing the value of your journey. You're going to be seeing the insights that you've received from this journey. This Rohini energy is also allowing you to experience the fertility and the abundance that's come from this journey. This Every Mother card has to do with the fact that you are recognizing through this rebirth experience that not everybody's going to appreciate and understand your journey. And that's okay. Just as Dorothy realized when she returned, and I didn't really believe what she had been through. But you will have gained the strength, you will have gained the insights that you need to accept it, and just accept that, hey, she knows what she knows, and oh well, she can't appreciate what I've been through. That's the way it is, that type of thing. And just being okay with you, being okay with where you are with your inner wisdom, because the full moon in June provides an outcome of Adi Shakti. This is the twister dream, and that's an odd outcome, but it's a wonderful to be continued for the third quarter readings. I can't wait to see what Great Mother has to say for you, Gemini, Cancer Moon people, because Adi Shakti, the primordial mother energy, is an energy that takes us up from a situation and places us in a new place for a new journey. And this has been a journey for you. You have already undergone a purification, but this would indicate that this full moon on the 28th of June is going to bring to full illumination this issue of not getting to where you thought you were going to get. Okay, so this new moon coming to a kind of full moon illumination of what your feelings are with that May energy, and really kind of getting deep into the truth of you fulfilling your own needs and processing all that and centering all that with the June new moon, to finally, with the full moon in your 7th house, rebalance yourself with this twister dream. So this waxing gibbous second chakra card is about, sharing what your new desires are, but having no idea how to do it. And so Great Mother just relieves you of the responsibility of figuring it out and taking you on a journey so you can experience it out. So that seventh house energy for you is all about this full moon that has to do with really bringing into greater focus on an internal level those personal and professional relationships as the full moon light in your first house now, after this, all this 12th house energy, all this alienated and isolated energy to get the downloads. Now by the end, the June full moon, the sun is in the first house in Gemini Cancer. And this is your first house. This is where the sun is shining a light for you to get clarity about what your true desires are now after this journey through your inner wisdom. Beautiful reading for you, Gemini Cancer Moon people. And I hope that has been helpful for you to gain the insight that you need, the preparation, the guidance that is useful for you to be aware of and practicing your meditative process as you act out your life and as you gain the clarity, balance, and confirmation you need to enjoy the happiness, health, and wholeness that you are and that you deserve as a child of the great Mother, Father, God. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and sharing. But above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb.